1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Isn't about a horse, but okay, I think we can go. No. Live. Hi, everybody. This is meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer. In under 2 minutes, I'll be with you with the live 7:15 streaming weather show. In case you've got everything set and you're ready to go, just wanted to let you know we're almost ready. I think everything pretty much is running right now. Just got to turn on the stuff for Roku channel and all that, and we'll be ready. Okay. So according to my clock, it is 7:13, and now it just turned 7:14. So in about a minute, I'll be with you live, and we got a lot to talk about, including some very cold weather on the way. Hi, everybody. This is meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer coming to you from the First Alert Streaming Center at Fox 19 now. It's 7:15, and we are about to go live here with the latest. Hey, you know what? I forgot something. Forgot to turn on the studio lights. So doing that right now. And now we are ready to go. So take a look at this. This is our Mount Auburn camera. And what we're doing, we're looking to the northeast. That's Interstate 71. If you would go straight through the center of that screen and head out in a straight line, you'd end up over Norwood. So hello to everybody in Norwood. This camera's in Mount Auburn. Across the interstate is Walnut Hills. And nice looking evening out there. Normal high now is 40, so even now it's 6 degrees warmer than the normal high. And we definitely have some very interesting and much colder weather on the way. Now we'll take a look the other direction, and that one was to the northeast. This is to the northwest from Turfway Park. And because of the lights at CVG and that, you can see the cloud cover. So the cloud cover is lowering and thickening. I don't think we see any precipitation in here until after we get past midnight, and maybe a little pretty far after midnight. Okay, temperatures right now, 37 in Richmond, 39 in Washington Courthouse. Everybody else is in the 40s around the tri-state. Temperatures will not fall off that much more as the cloud cover thickens. We retain more heat, and temperatures just are not going to fall very quickly. Now there's the radar and satellite loop. Now, okay, what you want to see here is, and I'll point this out, you'll see all of a sudden this stuff pops up. This is not precipitation. It's what we call a false echo. It's actually cloud level moisture that's being picked up by the radar out of Wilmington. And the rest of this is, especially back here, is rain. But notice this stuff is moving off to the north and east, and the leading edge of it is evaporating. And this is just a false echo. I'm not sure why it's getting a false echo there, but we don't have any rain in the area. And just in case, I can check radar scope here, which is a great, great application, primarily geared to professional meteorologists, but definitely, yeah, it's a little bit of cloud level moisture, because I can see it on Wilmington's radar, and it does not show up at a lower elevation on TCVG, which is down in Kenton County, and it's a terminal Doppler radar, as they call it. The one in Kenton County is mainly made to detect turbulence, downburst, and that for airline traffic at CVG. Okay, so let's go back to full screen here so you can see that. As we take a look, sorry, hit the wrong button. As we take a look at the model for this evening, you can see by 8 p.m. the model has no rainfall in the area, but again, mostly cloudy skies everywhere. By 11 o'clock, still no precipitation, even though it looked pretty close on radar. That, as I said, was cloud level moisture. Temperatures stay in the 40s this evening and overnight, and by 5 a.m. we begin to pick up some rainfall. Now, if you're worried about your morning commute, temperatures are staying way, way above freezing. With the warm weather we've had lately, ground temperatures and pavement temperatures are way above freezing, so you've got nothing to worry about but some rain tomorrow morning. And notice the heaviest of the rainfall off to the north and west. We have a few spotty areas with a little bit heavier showers, but from Batesville to Connersville to Liberty to Brookville, this is all moving north and eastward. You've got some heavier rainfall and then a few spots where there is, but overall a wet, slow go for the morning commute. Everybody knows even a little bit of rain makes it slow, and that's exactly what we're going to have. Now that is at 5 a.m., so let's go ahead and take a look at it. At 8 a.m., just a few scattered showers around the area, again a few spots with heavier downpours. Now the rainfall begins to push in from the north and west as the low pressure system goes off to the north and east and moves through the area. And then, this is 8 p.m. New Year's Eve. Okay, so what we have here is, according to this model, a lot of this stuff is changing over to snow. However, look at the air temperatures in the 30s, above freezing everywhere, in some spots in the 40s. And so this would be wet snow, and remember, the ground is very warm after the warm stretch of weather we've had. So what we're looking at here is wet roads for New Year's Eve. Now, if you're going to a party or something, it'll be just like, you'll see snowflakes coming down in some locations, but it'll be mostly just like driving in the rain. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at where that snow goes. That's 8 p.m. By 10:30 p.m., most of the area is getting some of that snowfall. Notice temperatures still above freezing. And as we head into the overnight, temperatures do drop to just freezing right up here in the northwest corner. So if you're looking at Connersville, Liberty, Brookville, probably Oxford, College Corner, Batesville, Versailles, they're all right at freezing, maybe a few spots to the south. But the issue is it does not drop to freezing soon enough with that warm ground that we're going to end up with an icy situation. If the ground temperature is like in the 40s, which it is, and the air temperatures just drop to freezing, that is not enough for a big ice situation. You've got to have it drop to much colder weather. And in case you're waiting for that, it's probably coming, okay? And we'll look at the extended outlook coming up in a little bit. So as you head to your New Year's Eve celebration or party, you're going to probably drive on wet roads. As you head home, depending upon how late you head home, when I was younger, it was like 4 a.m., now that I'm older, I don't even go out. As a matter of fact, I'll be celebrating New Year's Eve on Columbia Parkway eastbound, heading back to my house in Madisonville after working here. So, and again, wet snow, warm ground, air temperatures above freezing, so it's not an issue. Now, things do change as we head toward the 5th, which is Sunday, and the 6th. Okay, so let's go ahead then and take a look, and then we have a few flurries developed during the day on January 1st, okay? So blustery and cold, wind chills in the teens. I'm not showing you the wind chills there, but wind chills in the teens, and actual temperatures in the 30s. All right, so now here is a little bit of weather forecasting insider stuff. the storm that's coming our way is coming out of the west-southwest, okay? Now, there are several tracks it could take. If it takes the track farthest to the north and stays north of us, that's the rain track. In other words, remember, these storms kind of follow beneath the jet stream, not exactly below, but a little bit below the jet stream. So the storm track often is the divider between cold air and warmer air. And if the storm that's coming our way on Sunday the 5th into Monday the 6th takes the northern track here, it's in green for rain. Green is the meteorological color for rain. So this is the rain track. If the storm goes just south of Cincinnati, probably the center of it over the far southern part of our viewing area, so from Owen over to Lewis counties, that's the ice track. Okay, that's where it's warm enough for rain, but at the surface it gets colder. And then if it goes even further south, like across southern Kentucky, that's the snow track. That's where we are in the primary region where there's a lot of uplift and a lot of moisture, and there's enough cold air so that it's snow. And if it heads far enough to the south, let's say the track takes it across northern Mississippi and Alabama into western North Carolina, well, we're far enough north that we would just get flurries out of it because all the action is down to the south. So right now, if I had to answer the question, which track is it going to take, I think this one is not going to happen. I think this one is not going to happen. So it's somewhere between the snow and the ice track. Now, this doesn't mean exclusively ice or exclusively snow. There can still be other things there, but this would primarily be what most people call a snowstorm. This would be what most people call some ice or freezing rain. And so right now, if I had to pick, it'd be one of these two, but it's looking more and more like a snow track. Okay, and I'll show you what one of the models shows right here. Okay, and so there you see those. The green one, the rain track, is farthest north, so that means the cold air, it's north of us and it drags warm air northward, the storm does. The ice track puts us right near the center of the storm, with it a little bit to the south of us. The snow track puts the center of the storm a little bit further south, so that we are A, cold enough, and B, we've got enough moisture for there to be a significant snowfall. And then we've got a flurries track, which means the storm goes way south, the cold air dominates, and we end up with just flurries because that cold air is so dry coming in from the north. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of the forecast. Where's the center of the storm going to be? How far north and south? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what this model shows. Okay, now note we're starting on the 30th today at 7:20 p.m. So we put this into motion, and here comes the rain that's coming our way overnight. You can see the little bit of snow moves through the area and pushes off to the east. Now watch what happens, okay? Here's Thursday at 2:20 a.m. That's Thursday the 2nd. Okay, by Friday the 3rd at 2:50 a.m., there's a little weak Alberta Clipper system that comes our way right there, bringing some flurries. So this is just a few flurries on Friday. And we go forward and stop it at 5:20 p.m. on Sunday. On Sunday, notice what we're looking at here. Remember I said a rain track, a snow track, and an ice track. So if the storm was way up here, all this rain would be further north. The ice track is one where you end up in between, and it's looking like here's the mixed right in here. So from southern Missouri to southern Illinois to southern Kentucky, it's a mix. North of that, it's cold enough for it to be all snow, and by then we'll have had enough cold air that the ground won't be as favorable for melting it. Okay, so a number of elevated roadways could have a problem. Now, and again, I want to mention this, and I watched Ethan Emery over the weekend a little bit, and he warned you of people on social media that are amateurs that go nuts about this stuff. And say, oh my God, it's going to be a horrible storm. No real meteorologist would stand here and look at you and tell you what the accumulation is going to be, because it still could be rain and snow mixed. It could be rain and ice mixed. It could be ice. It could be snow. It doesn't look like it'll be rain. But it's Sunday during the afternoon into Monday. Now look at this. Now this model has the storm right down here through what I call the snow track. Okay, and so if it's here in the snow track, down the center of the storm, down this way, that means all this is going to come over the Fox 19 Now viewing area. So let me give you full screen once again. And let's watch what happens with this. And I'll stop this model and I'll go back over it a couple times so you can see it. One thing we're not going to talk about is we're not going to talk about accumulations, because it would be irresponsible and probably unethical too for me to say, oh my God, we're going to get this much snow, and then end up having it be, you know, a few flurries, and you've stocked up on food and prepared for the worst, and it doesn't happen. So in this case, you see that as we head into evening on Sunday, we've got this model saying that snow, it's going to be all snow. Now, some of the models give us ice. This one is usually performs the best, okay? So we'll put this into motion. By 2:40 a.m., we're still in the snow, okay? By 1:30 p.m. on Monday, we're still in the snow, but it is lightening up. That white is just snow flurries or snow showers. And then it goes away, and we get some flurries in the area as we head through the next day or so. Okay, so let me stop that, and let's just walk through this a couple more times. Okay, because this is where you really learn how to forecast. Okay, now, and again, I want to mention to you that I started in this business. I started at Channel 5 off air with a guy named Tony Sands. He was my mentor. He gave me my first job in TV. And I started in 1977 off air, helping him out behind the scenes, and slowly worked my way into getting on the air. Even though I had my meteorological education, it was kind of like an apprenticeship, and I got to know TV, got to know, you know, how he did his things, and eventually ended up on the air. But back then, the reason I'm talking about 1977 is because back then, this would have been a big surprise. I mean, this far out, you know, my gosh, we're talking about the 5th of January here, not even January. And what we're looking at here is something that is, because the science of meteorology, especially the science of weather and climate modeling, has come so far that it's very, very good. Now, if you watch this if you watch the streaming show often, you know that for the past month I've been talking about, hey, as we head toward the middle of the month, we're going to begin to get colder, and we're going to get unsettled. Within about 3 weeks ago, we were able to pin it down to a window between maybe the 5th and the 10th. And now we're saying the 5th and 6th looks like the snow days, and then after that, cold and flurries. But I've been able to bring you along, and so this should not be a surprise. And again, if I would have 10 days ago given you snowfall amounts, it would have been unethical. I wouldn't say I'm lying to you, but it's as close to a lie as you can get. A good meteorologist knows that may not be the truth. And so the idea here is, as though we can't pin down the specifics of it, you should know by now that Sunday the 5th into Monday the 6th could become a big problem. Could be school closings, could be big traffic delays, depending upon exactly how it works out. So in other words, the idea in modern forecasting is not to say, oh my gosh, look at that. It could be this. It's like, hey, we're going to have something. We'll have to specify it as it gets closer, but be ready for, you know, a big disruption to your activities. Okay, so this again, let's go full screen. That is 3:30 p.m. on Sunday. The snow's already beginning to move into Madison, Indiana, and our southeastern Indiana counties. Okay, and so if we go a little bit further ahead, there it is at 5:30, still not into the main area. Then it takes a big jump. So right there, we go right there to 7:10. It's moving north and eastward pretty quickly. Now notice what's going on here. Notice that the heaviest of the snow in the darker blue is right here. So according to this model right now, the first part of this, as we head toward and through Sunday evening, if this verifies, the heaviest snow will be down here across our southern counties. So it would be, let's say, from Owen over to Lewis counties, where you have the greatest chance of big snow, and there is some more coming our way. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead, put this back into motion. So that's 7:10 in the evening. Okay, as we head toward 3:10 a.m. There you see we're still in it. And it looks still like a lot of snow over northern Kentucky. As we put it further and further and further, there you see by 2 p.m. on Monday. So this is starting like 5 p.m.-ish on Sunday, and we are 2 p.m. We're close. We're 21 hours later, and we still have some snow coming down. Now, this white here is just flurry activity. You see some lake effect snowfall coming in off the northerly winds here in northwest Indiana. And then for us, it's beginning to taper off and come to an end. But we could see significant snowfall for several hours. And again, it still could be a rain-snow mix. It could be ice and snow mixed or rain and, it could be any of those winter precipitation combinations. But now you know something is coming our way. We still may have to shift this. The models may bring it in faster, so we may have to shift it out of Sunday into Monday. We may have to shift it earlier into Sunday. So several things can happen. The track can vary north and south. The timing can vary like this. And so all those will be fine-tuned as we get closer and closer. But Sunday the 5th into Monday, we do have that chance of significant snowfall. Or it could be ice, it could be rain, but you do know it's coming now. All right, so, and again, let's take a look at that one more time. So here we have 3:30 p.m. on Sunday. Okay, we go to 8 p.m., and there you see almost everybody getting something. We go to 3:10 a.m. Monday morning. This is the 6th, Monday the 6th. 9:10 a.m. Monday morning, still coming down. And we're looking at, right here is 2 p.m. And then it goes away during the day on Monday. Now, what's happening here, if I back this up a little bit, we have something that meteorologists call the deformation zone. So the low's down this way, and you see this elongated band right here. Well, what happens is, and it's kind of hard to explain, and a lot of young meteorologists really struggle with this. Even a lot of forecasters struggle with this. Now that we have models, you can see it right here. So what happens here is you've got air that is curving around a low like this, coming up this way, okay? That's in the southern part. And the northern part, you've got a big, cold, high-pressure system up here, and the wind's going like this. And so what's happening here, you've got winds doing this and winds doing this. So this is the deformation zone here, where you're trying to go from the flow around a high-pressure system. You're going from the flow around the low-pressure system to the flow around the high-pressure system. So it goes like this, it goes like this, and this gets it stretched out. And if you happen to be in the zone where it's stretched out, you could be in snow for several hours like that. And so that's what has me worried at this point. Now, one last thing, when I'm kind of helping young meteorologists figure out how to forecast, I said, now remember, this is the 6th of January. We're not even to January yet. So this is the 6th of January, and things will change. They always do. They always change at least a little bit. They could get worse. They could get better. The system, in this case, the system does not look like it's going to miss us. That could happen. But one of the things young meteorologists don't quite understand is that they try to be too specific here. So if I would give you specific timing, if I would give you specific amounts, it's likely that we're nowhere near what we're going to end up getting. And that just makes the forecast bad. That makes me making myself look bad, and that lowers people's trust, okay? And so I think if you understand that it's just not something you can do yet, here is that deformation zone, okay? The air going like this around the low, the air coming like this around the high, and it gets stretched out here with an elongated band, and that's kind of what we have coming our way. That's got me worried. Now, again, we'll keep an eye on this. I'm working tomorrow evening. I'm working New Year's Day, working right on into Friday. The good news is I'm off on the 5th and the 6th. So for one time, I'll be able to go out and play in the snow without having to worry about it, unless it turns into a massive problem. Then I'll be into work. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tomorrow and Wednesday and the rest of this week, I'm going to bring in some snowshoes that I've traveled hundreds of miles on to show you what a modern snowshoe looks like. And I've got something else called WXIX tracks. Okay, now WXIX tracks are a brand. but it's a stretchable thing that you can put on your shoes to help you when you have to walk on ice. And I'll just demonstrate those because I think those are two things that I've found very, very valuable in traveling. Okay, and we'll talk about those later in the week. Okay, now you have the scene. Let me go over this one more time, just in case anybody's just now joining us. So we go here to Sunday the 5th of January at 5:40 p.m., and you see the snow's moving into the tri-state. Okay, we go forward to 7:40 p.m., and it's snowing over most of the area, but most of it light because you're in that lighter blue. Okay, and then we go forward to and there we go forward to 2:30 a.m., and you can see that the heaviest snow, the darkest blue, is showing up over northern Kentucky. So that's, according to what it looks like right now, that's where the heaviest snow will be. But that could shift north or south. Okay, and then as we head into Monday at 7:20 a.m., again, here's that deformation zone, D-E-F-O-R-M-A-T-I, M-A-T-I-O-N, deformation. And all it means is that if you take and I guess I could have explained the terminology a little bit better, because sometimes terminology can really give you a clue as to how it works. Deformation means if I take a square, okay, and if I just look at a square of air here and I follow how it travels, if it's down here, it's going to travel like this. But it's not only going to travel like this around the low, it's going to change shape, so it's going to be deformed. And so what happens is it comes around the low like this, and as it encounters this deformation zone, it stretches out. Same thing with a parcel of air coming in on the northerly winds around the high pressure system's way up here. But if you take that square of air and you bring it southward into the deformation zone, it stretches out like that. So you get this elongated area where there's snow called the deformation zone. Okay, and that, if you stay in that for a long enough time, you can get a significant accumulation out of it. And that's, according to what we're looking at, that's what this model is showing, but it will change. It always does. It may change just a little bit. It may change a lot, but it won't be exactly like this unless the model is really, really lucky by the time it gets here. But you do know, Sunday the 5th into Monday the 6th could be a big problem. All right. And there we have 1:40 p.m. The snow's coming to an end, down to the whites, basically flurries. And then it pushes off to the east, and we have a few flurries left over that are not showing up on the model. All right, so that's that part of it. And I tell you what, winter snow forecasting is pretty difficult to do, but it's a lot easier than it used to be, believe me, because the models are so very, very good now. The models always put us at least in the ballpark. Before the models, we didn't have a ballpark. We were out in an open wilderness, trying to figure out what was going to happen. Now the models kind of narrow in our focus and put us in the ballpark, and we do a better job at forecasting. So right now it's 46 degrees. We're looking at temperatures essentially steady by the time we get to 11 o'clock. Okay, now here is the other stuff we've been talking about. Again, I don't have time to do this on the air, and so I talk a lot about the extended forecast in the 7:15 show. And what I've been talking about, gosh almighty, since last spring, it's been like 10 months now, is the La Nina. Remember, last winter was an El Nino winter. That's when you talk about water along the equator in the Pacific being warmer than normal in an El Nino, and that modifies the global circulation. That seems weird. But if you go from 10 degrees north of the equator to 10 degrees south of the equator, and then you go all the way from South America to Indonesia, to Asia, or I should do it this way, all the way from South America to Asia, that area inside of that is about 5 times bigger than the lower 48. Okay, so if we had a big heat source 5 times bigger than the 48 states, that would significantly impact the weather worldwide, and that's what happens with an El Nino. The La Nina is the opposite. Instead of having water that's warmer than normal along the equator, water is colder than normal. And oftentimes, we go from El Ninos to La Ninas. During the summer between the El Nino and the La Nina, which was this past summer, typically the weather is hot and dry, and that's exactly what we got. So as the the climate models started kicking out, and these aren't really climate models, these are more long-term forecast models. They started kicking out last March. Oh, it looks like La Nina, La Nina, La Nina. The models are saying strong, lasting long, starting early. Okay, so everybody that was looking at that was talking about the La Nina winter coming up. And typically a La Nina winter is mild around here. Maybe just a tad below normal, but varying between a little bit above and a little bit below, but also fairly wet. Okay. However, when I put out our winter forecast a couple months ago, I said, okay, here's what's happening. They keep saying, oh, the La Nina's going to start later. Oh, the La Nina is not going to last as long. Oh, the La Nina is going to be weaker. That's what the models kept saying with each successive run. So they're still hanging on to the hope that there's a La Nina, but now it just looks like it looks like it's going to be short, it's going to be weak, and it's not going to start very soon. It's going to start late. So in that case, you might as well just scrap it and say there's not going to be a La Nina. And when I did the winter forecast, I warned everybody, hey, if the La Nina doesn't develop the way they thought, we could have a pretty brutal looking winter, or at least several weeks where the weather is pretty cold. Okay, so the way it's looking now is that we're going to go through January without the La Nina. The La Nina still will form, not really strong, but that should allow us to warm back up to be a little bit warmer than normal in February. But from now through the end of January, it looks pretty cold and stormy. Okay, so starting off here with the Climate Prediction Center's temperature forecast, you can tell by the scale at the top that right here is the center of that really cold. I mean, this is significantly colder in this dark blue band all the way from the Dakotas to the Atlantic coast in the mid-Atlantic states. So there you have it, January 5th through January 9th, colder than normal. Let's see what the Climate Prediction Center said today about the day's 8 to 14 temperature outlook. And notice that core of cold air has moved to the south, but I mean, it's right, it's just right near us. So we are in significantly colder than weather through the 13th of January, according to the Climate Prediction Center. Remember, this is an average temperature, so that could start out really cold and be not as cold by the 13th, and the average turns out, but it's going to be cold, okay, over the eastern United States through the 13th. And then on Friday, last Friday, they put out the weeks 3 to 4 forecast, okay, and that looks like this. And of course, the blue isn't as deep a blue because it's harder to get a higher probability far out in the future, but it still says the same thing. It says through the 25th of January, it looks colder than normal over the eastern United States, okay, so that means furnaces are going to be working extra. You might, if you have some questions about your furnace before this stuff gets here, you might want to check with a furnace expert to get that worked on. You might want to check the filters to make sure the air's flowing pretty well. Might want to make sure your car's in good shape because it's going to stay cold for us. Not going to necessarily be record-setting cold, but it will be bitterly cold several mornings and several days, okay? So there it is again. So again, if we go back over these three panels, it'll take a second there, okay? So there's January 5th through January 9th. Now, of course, these overlap here. And then we go from January 7th through January 13th. So it looks like into the middle of the month, we're colder than normal. And then this one says, look at that, right onto the 25th, and it would take a while to dig out. So it's looking like what will happen is that what we'll do toward the last week of the month, we're going to begin to show a warming trend. We'll still be a little bit colder than normal at the beginning of February, and then we'll warm up to above normal as we head through the month of February, assuming that that elusive La Nina does develop. Okay, so there's always questions. When you're doing long-term forecasting, nothing is ever really sure. All right, let's take a look at the precipitation pattern now. So through the 9th, slightly above normal precipitation, and then it goes to exactly what you would think. Why would you think there'd be a big bullseye here of below normal precipitation? That's because all those cold air masses are coming out of Canada. Unlike an air mass that comes out of the Gulf of Mexico that has plenty of moisture and warm air, this is bitterly cold. doesn't have a lot of energy in that cold air to evaporate moisture, and doesn't have a lot of moisture where it's coming from, because it's coming from the plains of Canada or higher or further north than that. And so the track of those cold Arctic air masses is where you get less precipitation than normal. Okay, so even though we're up, we've recharged our soil reserves, so we're okay with that. But definitely looks like cold and fairly dry. Although we could see some days with flurries, and that as the cold air crosses the lakes and comes our way. All right, so there that is. Okay, that's through the 13th. And then the 3 to 4 week through the 25th says we go to back to about normal, and that would fit with the temperature beginning to moderate as we head into the end of the month. Man, I tell you what, I've been talking a lot here. Give me a second. I've got to take a quick drink, and then we will talk about the 7-day forecast. Okay. So your 7-day forecast is a lot there. Low tonight of 46, high tomorrow of 51, showers and breezy. So as you're going out for your New Year's Eve celebration, wet roads look like they're going to be the rule. Okay, then for New Year's morning down to 34, we may have to modify that and bring it up a little bit, but above freezing anyway. 38 the high on New Year's Day, with the slight chance for a few flurries. That's an old forecast. I've got to update that, saying light snow showers continuing into afternoon is what I would say now, and I will have to update that for our 10 o'clock show. And that's another thing, that young meteorologists, they come to work, they put their, a lot of them, not all of them, and Ethan Emery's not one of those. He's not that young anymore either. Once you're in your 30s, you're no longer a youngster. So a lot of young meteorologists say, they get to work, oh, I got the forecast done, and it's like, nah, the forecast is never done. Forecasting is always a continuous work in progress. So when I get done doing my forecast, I have to put my show graphics together, and as the show's going on, I'm constantly checking, like, if the front's coming in, what the temperature behind the front is, or how fast it's dropped, let's say in Indianapolis, so that I know how fast. So forecasting is not, oh, I did the forecast, I'm done. Forecasting is never done. It's always a continuous work in progress. Okay, I'll get off my high horse here and continue talking about the weather. So then we go into Thursday, which is the 2nd, 25 and 36 for the low and high, mostly cloudy. Friday, I think we get some flurries. Remember, I showed you that little clipper coming our way. Not a lot of moisture with some flurries. So a low of 28, a high of 31. And then even though the Bengals are not playing at home, I put the Bengals logo up there. Man, what an exciting game that was on Saturday. Whoa, had me on the edge of my seat. Made me wonder why in the world would, I'm not a big football fan, so I don't know a lot of the intricacies of it. I like to watch a good game, and especially I like to see the Bengals win. But third down and you kick a field goal. You have two chances when you've got third down to score. You throw a chance to score out the window and just rely on one. That does not make sense to me. And if it makes sense to you, you can explain it to me. Okay, so the Bengals do play in Pittsburgh on Saturday. It's an 8 p.m. game, and it's looking like temperatures at the start of the game will be in the low 20s, dropping into the upper teens late in the game, but the weather will be dry. It might be a little breezy, so wind chills will be a factor, but it's going to be a cold game, and if I'm Joe Burrow, I'm going to figure out some way to keep my passing hand warm, because you don't want that stiffening up, not responding as well as you want. Okay, then Sunday here and Monday. Sunday's the day for the snow and ice. Right now, it looks like it's a late afternoon, early evening event starting, lasting into Monday afternoon. Right now, and that's another thing I'm going to have to change. Right now, when I first did the early shows, it looked like the snow was going to end in the morning. I think it looks like it's going to end probably in the afternoon now, but it will taper off. So the significant snowfall will just taper off to flurries during the day on Monday. Okay, so that's what all that looks like. All right, let's go to beyond the 7-day forecast. And here we go. 7 days in a row with high temperatures in the teens or 20s, with low temperatures 3 mornings in the single digits above zero. Okay. Now on the 7th and 8th, remember it's the 5th and 6th for the snow event, snow and or ice and or rain and or mixed event. That's Sunday and Monday. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, we're in the cold air flow, basically off the lake, so there should be enough moisture that we get some flurries out of it both those days. We dry out for Thursday the 19th. And then the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, as more cold air comes our way, we get more air blowing in off the Great Lakes. And we don't get a lot of lake effect snowfall around here, but we can get some snow off the lakes. I think with that cold air like that, we've got that chance of flurries in the tri-state. Okay, so let's go beyond the 7-day forecast. Let's go from beyond the 7-day forecast to your summary. So here are the 14 days. Everything is down until we get to the 12th and 13th, and then we begin to recover. And it looks like once we get past the 12th and 13th, we're going to gradually build back up to just below normal by the beginning of February. But right here, you see the eyeball here. I didn't point that out on the 7-day forecast. The eyeball is a first alert weather day potentially. Okay? In other words, if this system completely misses us, well then no big deal. But this is telling you that be ready. This could be a first alert weather day with some big issues for traffic, for school kids. I mean, if you have to work and your kids go to school and you know that works as your daycare, that could end up being an issue for that Sunday and Monday. So here's the takeaway from this 14-day forecast. And yeesh, I tell you what. Okay, let's see. I will have to give you the takeaway in a different way because it doesn't want to come out, somehow does not want to come out of the out of the forecast. So okay, let me see. Let me see if this is it. I'm having trouble finding it. No, that is not it. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you what the takeaway is. All right. Go back to that forecast. I'll tell you, I lost the file, and that's what happened in the early show, so I wasn't sure what was going on there. Okay, so there's the 14-day temperature forecast. So the takeaway is this, that we have a little rain and snow mix coming in the evening hours of New Year's Eve and ending for New Year's morning with maybe a few flurries, so that's this right here. We have an eyeball here, but the 5th and the 6th may bring a significant winter storm our way. And again, and I keep saying may, so remember, the thing is, I don't want, because we just really can't tell what the snow totals are going to be, I can't put a figure on it now because the minute I put a figure on, there'll be somebody in social media that broadcasts it around the world that I'm saying this. And even if I just said, oh, that's a possibility. So just remember, a significant situation coming our way with some winter weather. Could be rain and snow mixed, could be ice and snow mixed, could be snow. It could be a big problem. Okay, and then we get into the Arctic air and we begin to climb out of the Arctic air. So the takeaway is bitterly cold, and some of these days will have some wind with them, so we're looking at below zero wind chills again around the tri-state. Okay, now I've shot my mouth off for so long that I'm barely going to have time to answer questions. Oh my God, it's almost 8 o'clock already. So I'm not ignoring you guys that are posting comments on Facebook. I'm going to take a look at them right now. Karen Cafazo, hello from Florida. Karen, I tell you what, it might be a good time for you to take a trip up to Cincinnati. If you like winter weather, that is, because we definitely have winter weather on the way. But hi, Karen. Hope you're enjoying Florida. Hope the weather down there is well. And if you want to see some icy cold weather, come on this way. Okay, Susan Wally says, good evening. About the exciting weather coming our way. Yep. I will make sure that each day this week, again, I am in every day this week. I'm working the evening of New Year's Eve. I'm working New Year's Day. I'll be off the Sunday and Monday of the snow, but if it turns into a big enough problem, we do an all-hands-on-deck thing. I'll be here. Don't worry about that. So, and Brenda says it's not on Roku TV. That might have been, Brenda, I don't know if you're watching now, but everything here is set, from what I can tell, for Roku TV. It could be another issue, but usually what I do is I get Facebook and YouTube running, and then just before we go on the air, I hit the thing for Roku and the Apple TV and all the other stuff. So you more than likely have it now, but let me know if it's not up there. Oh my God, Kim Menzel, you really want to rub it in, don't you, Kim? She goes, hi from Cancun. Kim, I hope that your stay keeps you there for a while, because there's nothing worse than coming back from a tropical vacation and ending up with below zero wind chills as you step off out of the airport. But good for you. And Kim, that's where my wife and I got married. It was, my wife and I decided to go to Cancun to get married. We invited her sister and our brother-in-law, now brother-in-law, and then they invited some people, so we had a good time. We got married down there. Tina Wolf in Indiana says, no snow, please. Tina, I don't think I can help you with that this time, especially the 5th and the 6th. Gina Norton-Smith. Now, Gina, I like the way you think. You said, we need a big storm. Yeah, we do. And I think we're going to get one. It may not be the kind of storm with wind, and it's not going to be a blizzard the way it looked, but it does look like it could be a significant snowmaker around the tri-state, snow or ice or whatever. Jesse Riley says, back in my dad's day, he walked barefoot in 86 inches of snow uphill both ways. I'm ready for that. Jesse, it sounds like it sounds like my dad and your dad did the same thing. My dad used to say, oh, you guys don't know how easy you have it. And, you know, the other thing I try and tell young people now is just imagine you didn't have a smartphone, you didn't have the internet, and at midnight, every TV channel went off the air, and the only thing you could look at is the static. That's what I grew up with. Oh, but it was always great because we thought it was a big treat if we could stay up and watch the national anthem, because one channel had a bunch of Navy ships with the flag flying, other channels had other stuff. But that was a big treat for us to stay up until the national anthem plays, and then the TV stations go to snow. But Jesse, it sounds like your dad and my dad grew up in the same kind of place. Melvin wants to know how much snow we're going to have Sunday into Monday. Melvin, as I've been talking, I can't ethically say that there's going to be a certain amount of snow because it's just too iffy right now. Okay, so just get ready for a significant amount of snow, probably a fairly heavy wet snow, but that too could change. Okay, so just get ready, Sunday into Monday. And I'm not, and there in no way, shape, or form am I holding back information to get you to watch more. That's not it at all. It's just that the science of forecasting has not gotten to the point where we can be that sure. And Richard Atchley, this was a little while ago, said, are we going to get into a deep freeze? Absolutely. If you consider high temperatures in the 20s and teens and low temperatures in the single digits of deep freeze, I think we are. So, and the forecast, basically the 8th through the 13th looks like we're in the deep freeze, Richard. Barbara Jean says, I can't wait. Me either, at Barbara Jean. And you know what? As I said, I'm on vacation starting this weekend, so I might actually get to go play in the snow. Okay. Richard, and I can't say how much snow I think because it just could be, it could be a lot, could be a little. Oh, yeah, and I was wondering if we'd hear from Jeff Beechler. Jeff Beechler, I think it's been since like we were hot and dry in July that he's been wishing for snow. Maybe even before that. Said, hello, I just posted, there was supposed to be an EF0 in Ohio. I didn't see it yet. I was so busy getting this together, and I had so many other things going on, working on our weather special and talking to our new employee, and that we hired a new meteorologist. Her name is Erin Ashley. She's at our Toledo station right now. She's from Milford, and I grew up in Loveland, so she's from the Milford area. Went to Ohio University, a couple years behind Ethan Emery, and she will be joining us either very late February or early in March. But it's after February is a ratings month in TV, and so she's staying with that station until we get into February. So. But let me see about that with the EF0 tornado, and I can post it on social media in a little while. Megan Marie says, I hope we get a bunch. I miss the snow. And Jessica F. Williamson says, we're due for a significant amount of snow. Yeah, it's been a while, so probability would say, yep. Jeff Cheney, how many inches of snow are we talking? You know, Jeff, it could be anything from 0 to, you know, way more than that. But it's not responsible for me. And there are people out there that if I would give you a figure, they would just go nuts with it. And then, you know, so, and I'm not giving you a figure because I can't give you a figure. It's like, and I tell you right now, you can go there and show 10 different models, and each of the models will have a different amount of snowfall over the event. You can show those, but then people pin you to that and say, oh, you said there'd be blah, blah, blah inches of snow. And I didn't really. I just said this is what the models are saying. So to be fair, to be accurate, and to make sure that I'm not pulling one over on you, we don't give guesses out this far ahead of time. Tommy Huber says, winter weather has been relatively boring for a while. I think the last exciting winter storm we had was December 2022, right before Christmas. Yep, we did have one back then, and I think you're right, Tommy. And that's when it got crazy cold. Remember, you know, that's really interesting because we lost so many plants in our yard, and we figured it out finally. We watched them, and it was usually the ones that kept their leaves. The ones that went completely dormant seemed to be okay and come back the next year. But the ones that kept their leaves, some of our pine trees, kaput, I should say. So they were, so definitely, yeah, it was right before Christmas, and it got really cold, and that wasn't bad the rest of the time, but it was very, very cold. As a matter of fact, I think the wind chill was like 35 below at one point then. And then Tommy says he'd rather have it rain than have all that nonsense again. Yeah, I'm not so excited about really cold weather, but I'm definitely excited about getting some action and testing my forecasting skills. Give me a second here. I put the thing behind me at full screen because I have to use my handkerchief, and it's not polite to show yourself, you know, fixing your nose because that's kind of gross. All right. So let me get back to the last comments here. Andy Combs said he called for a higher amount of named hurricanes and called colder than expected winter. Should be a meteorologist. Well, you know, and then thing is, I didn't call for a colder than normal winter. I just said if the La Nina doesn't develop, it's going to be colder than normal. And so there was a lot going on there. But congratulations, you made a good call. Curtis Rathschulte says, so much for global warming. Okay, Curtis, you've got a big misunderstanding about global warming. Everybody, so many people that I talk to say, oh, it'll be so nice when we have global warming and we never have snow again. That's not how it works. Global warming talks about the average temperature of the entire planet. As the entire planet warms up, there's more energy for bigger, stronger storms, but there's still, unless it gets out of hand and we're 100 degrees warmer than we were and everybody's dead because Earth's no longer habitable, that's a different story. But if it grows to several degrees warmer than it is now, it's going to be much hotter in the summers. It won't be as cold for as long in the winters, but we'll still have snow and all that. So yeah, so global warming is a real thing, and it's happening. It's 100% happening. 100% humans are a big factor in causing it, and we just have to learn how to deal with it. Because personally, I mean, about the only way we could fix it, because we've got about 100 years of warming in the pipeline already, about the only way we could fix it is to stop using fossil fuels completely right now, but that's not going to happen, and it can't happen. I mean, I've got to drive home tonight. People have got that own trucking businesses have to move stuff back and forth, and so we just have to learn, or we have to figure out what we're going to do, okay, to make it work for everybody and to minimize the impact, really. So what about Owen County on Sunday? Okay, that's from Tammy Jo Bishop. Tammy Jo will look like, excuse me, I think on Sunday it moves in probably in the mid to late afternoon. At least it'll be cloudy by then. The models are saying maybe a little bit later than that, but we definitely have that chance of getting accumulating snow before dark and then continuing into the overnight. So it could be significant. So, but think in terms of mid-afternoon into early evening for the start. Richard Atchley says, thanks, we're doing a great job. I hope we are. We're trying our best to forecast all this stuff. And I tell you what, if you've ever seen a bald meteorologist, he's a guy that has probably been forecasting too many winter storms. Kimberly Merrick maybe, says, I'll take warmer weather over this. Yeah, a lot of people like warmer weather. I personally, you know what, I keep telling everybody I like winter and I like cold weather, but after we get in past February and we're starting to get into March, I'm done with it. I want to get it warmer too. So I like all the weather, actually. So Debbie Bacon, what time Sunday will it start? I think, Debbie, depending on how far east you are, if you're in our far western counties, we're talking 5 to 7 o'clock for starting times, p.m. If you're in, let's say, Butler, Hamilton, Boone, Kenton, Campbell, and up and down there, you're probably talking, this is Sunday the 5th, you're probably talking 7 to 8. And again, these times can shift a lot. A lot can change between them. And then if you're over in Lewis County, if you're in Adams, if you're in Highland counties, it may be as late as 10 o'clock. But it could be much earlier than that. So we're looking at later in the day on Sunday is the best way to put it. Oh, yeah, and Chuck Morgan says, we're doing a great job here helping them out. And the maintenance department at Newtown, now I live in Madisonville, which is right next to, right near Newtown. And I go through Newtown all the time on the bike trail on that. But and he says he hasn't seen me at the feed store there. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there, Chuck, so I'll have to go back there pretty soon. Jeff Beechler says, LOL, we need like blank or blank. See, I'm not saying how much amount. Inches of snow or more. See, the minute I say a number, somebody's going to pick up on it as being a forecast. Kimberly Marriott says, no snow, we need sunshine and warm weather. And I was right. He said Jeff Beechler said, yeah, I started talking about snow in late June, early July. Wow. And Kimberly Marriott says drier, warmer weather for her. Jay Micheletti, what's Cincinnati look like Monday morning? That's next Monday morning. Probably snow on the ground. Probably main roads mostly wet, but slick driving in many locations if this all works out this way. Okay, and again, Jay Micheletti said, hey, he's ready to plow some snow. Jay, you just may get the chance, especially those parking lots and that. Okay. Debbie Bacon from Warsaw. Yeah, Warsaw, and since you're off to the southwest along the river, Debbie, you're probably going to be earlier. So think in terms of maybe the first flakes starting to fly on Sunday about 5 o'clock, but I want to keep mentioning that could change quite a bit, okay, between then and now. And then Teresa Lowe Jefferson. What about Maysville, Kentucky? Well, Maysville's far enough east and far enough south. And Teresa Lowe Jefferson, let me go back to this model run that I was using and give it to you a little bit more specifically here for the Maysville area. Okay, and this will zoom in here, and let me see. Okay, I'll put this full screen. So this will zoom in for you. All right, so here we go. This is the old one. Here comes the Friday flurries with that little clipper. And then here comes, okay, so this is Sunday at 1 p.m., maybe as early as 1 p.m., the first flurries in Madison. By the time we get to Sunday at, that's 7:20, I went too far, 5:50, it's moving through southeast Indiana, so Maysville nowhere near that. But notice the movement here. The movement is to the northeast, so the stuff that's going to hit Maysville is coming in out of like Frankfort, Kentucky, maybe Louisville. And so right there, so this is 7 p.m. on Sunday the 5th. If this model works out and is correct, let's see, who am I looking for here? Okay. Oh, yeah, so it was Teresa Lowe Jefferson. Sorry, Teresa, I forgot who it was talking. So you see the snow there that is moving to the northeast. Basically, what you've got is, let's see, right here. is this. So the snow that comes here into the Maysville area is coming out of like Frankfort, Lexington, maybe a little bit from Louisville. And so by 7 p.m., according to this model, it's snowing and beginning to accumulate in Maysville. Now, again, I want to mention to everybody that this is all preliminary. The timing could change a lot. The position of this low changes. If the low goes farther north, that's going to drag the warmer air northward and change part of it over to rain. If it heads too much to the south, it will be in the drier air and it could be flurries. But right now, if this, we're going to have a significant winter event Sunday into Monday if this model verifies. Okay, so let's see. I'm 11 minutes late for a place I'm supposed to be to get stuff ready for the 10 o'clock show. So I have to go now. Thank you very much. I'll be on tomorrow evening. I'll be on New Year's evening, and I'll be on Thursday and Friday here at 7:15. And we'll go over this again in detail. And each day you'll see the changes that we have to make in the forecast as we have to adjust things based on the latest model data. So we're keeping an eye on it. We'll let you know. Thanks for joining me. Have yourself a nice evening. And if you don't, or if you're not able to join us tomorrow, have a good New Year's and have a safe New Year's Eve also.